Do you want to make this elegant boubou style that look classy yet so easy to sew? In today's tutorial, I'll show you step by step how to cut and sew this stunning design. No stress, no confusion, just so simple method you can try even if you're a beginner. Hello fashion lovers, welcome to MSJ Fashion World today. I'm super excited to show you how to make this elegant boubou style. I'll take you through the step-by-step cutting and sewing technique. So grab your fabric, your sewing tools, and let's dive in. So here above are the material needed for this boubou dress. So moving on, we'll start by folding out this fabric into two. So before then, these are the measurements needed for the boubou. So then we'll now start by folding our fabric into two equal parts like this. So after then, we'll move on to measuring the full length of the person, and the full length of my client is 58. But before then, we start by measuring the shoulder to bust line, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to top length. So we'll measure shoulder to the above knee length and also shoulder to the full length of the dress, which is 58. So moving on, we're now going to go to the upper side of that is to measure the shoulder length of the person, and the shoulder length of the person is 15 inches. 15 inches divided by 2, we have 7.5. So this is not actually a cutting boubou. We're not cutting the shoulder. So we'll now add 15 inches for the sleeve. We actually need 13 inches for the sleeve, but because it's having a band, which is a rubber, it's going to make it 15. So after sewing to equalize to be 13 inches. So then we'll measure 11 inches for the shoulder, the round sleeve of the shoulder, how big we want it to be. From there, we'll now start by measuring the full length. So mind you, the measurement needed for this boubou is actually the hip measurement, because that is the bigger part of the body, and that is where we have the, but some persons, they might have a bigger bust than the hip, so you could decide to use the bigger side of the person. So the bigger side, 49 divided by 4, adding 8 inches allowance for the boubou, so that we don't want it to be big. That is how we want it. So moving on, we'll now measure all this all through this fabric. Then on this down part, the down part, we measure 18 inches on the down part, reason being so that the person will be able to walk. The perfect one is actually 16 inches, but because this person is a big person, she's actually big, so we're making it 18 inches at the down part instead of 16 inches. Then we connect all the lines together. You can see where I measured 18, so it could be accurate. Then we'll connect all the lines together, and then we'll move on to cutting it. So we actually use a different chalk because the chalk wasn't glary. Move on and cutting this pattern away, and this is actually for the back pattern. So then we measure the neckline. The neckline, we have 3.5 by 3 inches. This is what we needed for the back pattern. So we measure 3.5 by 3 inches depth, and then we'll move on to cutting it. After then, we'll now start by after cutting this pattern, we'll now place it aside and moving on to cutting the front pattern. But we can see here we are trimming off the excesses at the sleeve part. Then we'll keep it aside and move on to the front pattern. So we are going to be using a pattern paper for the front pattern. We measure the same 7.5 inches, that is for the shoulder. Then add 15 inches for the sleeve, which is, we already said it that we needed 13, but because it has rubber, so the rubber will make it reduced, so you don't use the same length for it. So on this downside, we used a ruler. After measuring the depth of the neckline, we'll now cover out 1 inch on the other part for the shoulder slope. Then you measure the shoulder to your bust line, shoulder to your under bust, the same thing we did at the back pattern. then shoulder to the bust line. Then on this point, we are going to measure the connect a straight line all through it like this. Then we'll move on to measuring the round hip measurement all through the front pattern, which is with the round hip measurement of 49 divided by 4, adding 8 inches allowance all through, because the hip measurement is actually the bigger part of the body of this our client. So we do the same thing all through like this. Then getting to this the point where we have the above top length or blouse length of the person, will now reduce this way. But because this pattern is not up to the length we are looking for, so to make this visible, we have to now use this pattern. Then after cutting out this pattern, we'll place it on the fabric and cut out what we needed. So we bring out the shape of this on this pattern, then we'll shaping it so it will not have a sharp edge. So we'll move on to the neck depth. To the neck side, we measure 3.5 by 5 inches depth for the client. This is actually a V, but not too V neckline. It's actually a V neckline, but not that sharp V neckline. So after connecting the lines together, we'll move on to measuring the shoulder part of it, measuring 3.5 by 3 inches for the flap. So this is actually for the flap. We'll measure 3.5 inches through 3 inches to the 20 inches to the, then moving on, will now indicate all the parts that will be needed: the bust line, the under bust, and the above blouse length of the our client. Then we'll use our ruler to connect all this line, the 3.5 to 3 inches line there we've already marked out. We use our ruler to connect all the lines together like this, getting to that 20 inches that we needed. So I don't know if this is actually clear, so let me know if you actually understand what I mean on this part. So we cut out this pattern, we cut it out, which is what we have here. So after cutting out this part, we're going to now make sure that whenever you're cutting this pattern paper, you're placing the pattern paper on the fabric, you make it, we are adding extra 10 inches or 8 inches, the exact measurement we needed, the exact allowance we needed is extra 8 inches, but on this part I made it extra 10 inches just to be on a safer side. So after cutting out this pattern, move ahead to placing this pattern on our fabric and making sure that it tallies with whatever we want. So on this part that we cut out, on that 20 inches part, we're making a pleat on that part, just as you can see on the fabric on the picture. Then this is where we place it on the fabric itself and pinning it down to cut it out. Then while cutting, we're going to make sure you had ½ inch for the sewing allowance, so it will not be bigger or it will not be smaller after joining it. So moving on, after pinning it down, we now start by measuring all the down part that we missed, which is what the pattern paper cannot contain. So make sure that we measure it down to that, we measure it to the downside, which is, so for this fabric we're having 58 inches that we need, exact 58 inches for the fabric. So but on this part we are going to be making a pleat of about 8 inches on this fabric, so we'll be needing extra 8 inches joining at the down path after cutting out this pattern. So which is what we did. After cutting out this pattern, we make sure that we cut out extra 10 inches. So to be on the safer side, we cut out extra 10 inches for this for the joining, which is after making a pleat on this part, we'll be having extra 8 inches, or we'll be having extra 2 inches. So this is what we talked about by leaving a half an inch on all of this sewing. Then we set it at side to measure, to cut out the other part that was already done. Then for the 10 inches, this is what we are about to cut out. For the 10 inches that include after pleating, this is will not have any joining at that downside. Then we cut out extra 10 inches for this pleat, which we needed 8 inches for this part, but we made it extra 10 inches so that we can be on a safer side. We actually later cut out the allowance after joining, but this is so perfect because we don't have any reason to start complaining that our fabric or our pattern was not enough. So we notch out the parts where we'll be making our pleat. So moving on to the upper part that we cut out, which is the flap of the neckline, and the flap itself, we cut it out the same way we can see on this video. Then we had half an inch that we'll be needing to join the pattern together. So this is what we have. So moving on to the machine, we join the down part of the 10 inches that was cut out to make the pleat. This is where we joined it together to the down part. This is after weaving the whole fabric, because if you don't weave it, it won't be so neat when sewing, or after sewing your finishing will be so bad. So this is where we place it down to actually make a pleat of those 2 inches, the pleat that was cut out, that 10 inches that was cut out. This is where we lay it down to make a pleat on it already. After pinning it down, we move ahead to cutting out the facing for the neckline, which we'll be showing you how to cut out a facing. But if you want to learn how to, let me know in the comment section if this is not detailed enough for you to know how to cut a facing. So on this facing, we'll be doing it one by one because we have a limited material, so we'll make use of what we have. That is the reason why we are cutting it one by one, just for us to have a very perfect and a neat sewing after everything, after joining. So this is how we did it. And on this part, after cutting out this part, you now start by trimming off the excesses that we have, which is measuring. First, we measure 3 inches all through. After measuring the 3 inches all through, it will now give us the best clue on how to cut out the perfect facing for it. So we'll now cut out this facing, and then move ahead to cutting out the back pattern, the front neckline facing. This is actually for the back, and mind you, this facing will be facing the front side, which is the front side, the one we are looking at, the front pattern that we're looking at. So this is where we cut out the front facing, and after joining it, we actually place it on the fabric itself. That's after making the pleat. After sewing out the pleat on it, we use our iron and our Emmy gum to hold down the facing on this part, and you can see where loops were joined after this. So this is the point where we now fix our elastic band for the hand. So after fixing the elastic band, we'll move ahead to the rope that is actually tied inside of the boubou. So after sewing the rope, to fix it, we're actually going to measure your shoulder to your half length. From there, you measure your waist measurement. So our waist measurement here, we have 40. So this is what we get after sewing all the boubou. If you like this tutorial, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my MSJ Fashion World for more amazing style. Share this wild with someone who would love to try this design. See you on my next video. Bye.